Now, students will now switch on to another topic, that is Hinduism, which is as mentioned in your syllabus. Now, before proceeding on this topic and like any other topic in history, please make sure that your world map is in place and your timeline, as discussed in the previous classes, is also in place. So, with this so we'll proceed with this topic, Hinduism, cultures and philosophies. Now, over the period of years, this religion, which majority of the country practices, we this religion had actually didn't had a founder. It was just developed out of Brahmanism. It is one of the oldest religions which is known to humanity. Its major characteristics is tolerance and diversity. Uh, for there are many, in short, what it means is that there are many paths to conquer the truth. There are many deities. There are many deities in this. Deities here means there are many gods, but it ultimately impersonates one reality. So basically, more than a religion, it is a philosophy and way of life focused on both the world and beyond. As said earlier, this religion does not have a particular founder. Indus Valley civilization, which was more than 5,000 years ago, practiced these religions. Then the Aryans came, and then the Vedic traditions, as we studied the Vedic principles in the previous classes. So, Vedic tradition had polytheism, which means that there are many gods. The sacred texts, which are known as Vedas and the Upanishads, so like we studied the Samved, the Rig Ved, the Yajur Ved, and Atharva Ved. Then is the social stratification, which is known as the caste system. For example, Brahmin, Kshatriyas, so ranging from Brahmins to Shudras, we have already done that caste system. Then Upanishads is nothing but metaphysical philosophy. Then ultimately the Vedic tradition develops into Hinduism. The sacred text, the Shruti, the which is heard, is the oldest but most authoritative. But here it means that you will find it enchantings, but you will not find it somewhere documented. And there are four Vedas. Vedas are known as truths. They are myths, rituals, chantings, like just we discussed in the previous slides. Then is Smriti or remembered. That is the great Indian epics. That is Ramayana and Mahabharata. And the Mahabharata is actually very well described in Bhagavad Gita. Its philosophies and beliefs. There are four goals in human life as per the Hindu philosophy. One is that is the dharma, that is the code for leading one's life. Earth, the pursuit of material gain by lawful means. Earth means the meaning of life basically. Karma is act. Knowledge and devotion, you can reincarnate to a higher level. Moksha is salvation, nothing but salvation. So dharma, artha, karma and moksha. The more major sects of this religion are Shivaism, Lord Shiva is worshipped along with Lord Ganesh and Kartikeya. Shaktism is, there are, see, in Hinduism, there are, as we all know, there are many gods representing different powers or characteristics. Like Shakti means power, which is can be is worshipped as Parvati, Saraswati, Kali, etc. Saraswati is the god of education. Vaishnavism is Lord Vishnu, which is also a form of Lord Shiva, is worshipped with his incarnation of Rama and Krishna. Smartism is Ishvara is worshipped as Vishnu, Shiva, Ganesh, Surya, or any of the deities. Now, the social hierarchies, we all know Brahmins are the priest. They're at the topmost in the caste system. They are priests, they are advisors to the kings, counselors, etc. Kshatriyas, they are the warriors, and they have the basic duty to protect the society. Vaishnavas are the merchant class, or they are traders or tradesmen. Next is Shudras, and they do the manual labor, and they are expected to serve the higher caste systems. Then is the Harijans, or the untouchable or Dalits. They do the cleaning, sweeping, etc., animal carcasses, and tanning of animal hide. Traditional the stages of life in Hinduism holds that each stage of life is also has its proper way of being lived. That is, student is brahmacharya. The first stage is spent laying religious foundation of life. Next is grihasthi, that is marriage, and which occurs after the age of 20. Then is retire, when the grandchildren are there, when the person's children they become adult. Then reunicate, that is the last stage. And sannyasism is considered to be outside caste, is a free to vendor, is begging for food. But sannyas is nothing but just going into the deep spiritual and meditational stage. Hinduism is known as the way of life. Uh, Now, Hindu practice for all usually involves devotion to at least one of the gods. It's finding one's proper work and doing it quite unselfishly. May also the work may also include studying the religious texts, meditations, and other scientifically religious disciplines. Hinduism is also the major religion of India, as it has no identifiable founder, no strong organization, no structure, no creed to define. Uh, Hinduism is, as said earlier, it is a way of life. It is not particularly characterized as a hardcore religion. So it has many related beliefs. It is there are various gods in this religion. The idol worship is not prohibited. In fact, Hinduism is a quite a free religion. There is yagnas, dhyan. Dhyan means the spiritual meditation, flower showering on idol, bell ringing, dum burning. Now, flower showering on idol means there are yagnas, there is meditation, there is praising the god with petals of flowers, there is ringing of bell in appreciation or as a thanksgiving prayer. There is a dhoop burning to which can kill all the viruses around and bacteria and give a very good fragrance. There is diya, which burns off all the bad energies. That is sandal on forehead, which is also symbolic representation. Blowing of shanks to declare the prayer open, and at the same time close the prayers. Then there is a prasad distribution. In fact, it's not exactly but a way of life, which is as said earlier. Now there is a correction in the last 2 points. There is yagas, which is written before dhyan in second last point. Please make sure it is yagnas. And the last point, it is in fact INFACT, and it is not infect as INFECT. So students, please make that correction. The political and chronology, as we saw in the similar slide in Buddhism presentation, so you can just refer that again. Certain slides uh, which are common in both the places because it occurred in the similar time. Uh, you can just refer it. Now, after the Islamic invasion, this was how the current world scenario was. The architecture of Hinduism, architecture during Hinduism. Uh, in Hinduism, the temples are built with different styles. The temple is the focus of all aspects in the life of Hindu community. That includes all aspects, means religious, cultural, educational, as well as social. Uh, Hinduism has a belief that the lives are merely stages in progression for ultimate enlightenment. That is, as discussed in the one of the previous slides, that ultimately Hinduism leads man to salvation, and God may be approached and where divine discovery. The temple architecture. Now as discussed, Hinduism focuses in different stages of life. So there are different principles of design and construction, different forms of architecture, different decoration, and so that all the rituals are performed accordingly. These are determined by the ancient texts and shastras compiled by the priest, and yes, for obvious reasons, they are going to be Brahmins. The temple's concept and cosmology. Cosmologically, sacred sites and structures which represent physical embodiments of places where gods are believed to dwell. So, temples are made at sacred sites where it is believed that here there is some significance of God who must have been there in the the significant presence of God is felt by the people. It is cosmological. The temples are cosmological in all the three dimensions. In elevation and section represents the cosmic axis and mundi running from center of Earth celestial space. The temple's dark interior represents the mystical focal point. A cave-like form represents the moon, which is known as Garbhagriha, and that we'll see in the preceding slides. The temple architecture and Indian temple constructions. Now, looking at the temples, it's not easy to determine that they are composed of one repeating unit, the square. But for God's own, the form had to be perfect, and this limited choice of shapes to a circle, a form without beginning and end, and the square perfect for its symmetry. The grid is usually 64 or 81 squares, is in fact a manda or model, and the distance a diet is from the center is according to the power perceived and importance. The Brahma, the creator, occupied pride and place in center. Lesser gods were related to the edges. The temple architecture, the Vastu Purush. The humanistic facade was given to the square by showing it was able to accommodate a figure uh, connoted yogic posture. Now, it is quite astonishing because the European Renaissance painter Leonardo Vinci um, had the similar modular dimensions as the Vastu Purush. Vastu Purush was the fit to the basis of temple construction, as you can see how how the Vastu Purush is inside the grid. With permutation and combination used to finally achieve the form. The form and evolution of temple architecture. Now, the form and evolution was that there is a system of proportion, and the basic square was always being repetitive. It is by the manipulation of this grid the architects achieved the Indian architects of that time achieved the best form. So if you see, the stage one is just nothing but square which is being divided. Stage two shows that the grid is being extended on the cardinal directions. Likewise, the stage C shows some more addition uh, directly in proportion, and stage D, which is described as, now if you can see here that all the forms have the modules of square grids. The plan of Parvati temple, Surya temple, Vishnu temple, and Kandarya Mahadev temple in Khajuraho. Now these were all made in the timelines of 6th to 11th century, but if you can see, everyone has the modules which represent it. Now the form and evaluation. Uh, the stage one is a square. Stage two, there is a radial spokes which are coming out, and that its epicenter is the center. Stage 2 shows that still the modules remain the same, only there are conceptual linings which are shown, ultimately forming the temples which is corresponding above. Now the architecture, besides the temple architecture, besides just the plan, there are other impacts, aspects also which are connected. Its relation to shade and water, its vertical elevation relating to mountains, the most sacred path, the Garbhagriha. Now, the gods will always be placed where the nearby rivers, mountains, and sacred springs, and there are water. So basically, the natural the temples are generally placed along with the nature. There have been gods which have been attracted to mountains, and they are great mountains for symbolism of and appearance of the temple. Was an impulse to creating source towers. The, now this, as you can see from these plans, how it has been evolved as with reference to the previous slides. Now, the materials of the temple are directly related with the classes of Hindu society. Stone or bricks are considered suitable for the male deity. For female deity, bricks and woods are considered suitable. Stone was also considered most sacred construction. Uh, Now, the Indian temple architecture has been called the sculpture on a mass scale rather than the true architecture. Because of the structural inventiveness or technical engineering, no attempts were made to solve the problems of large spans. Now, this is the basically Nagara style temple where there are different parts. So, from the place where you enter is Ardham Mandapa, then comes next is the Mandapa, then in the center is the Mahamandapa, then is Antral, the place where deity is placed is known as Garbhagya, and the Pradakshina path or circumambulation, so that you can move around enchanting gods there. Now this is again, you can see in Nagara style temple where all the parts as described in the plan have been discussed, have been labeled here. You can just go through it. Now all these parts of a temple are formed uh, by the points in the human bodies. So if you can see with reference to the proportion of human body, the that the concept of temple has been made. This is a three-dimensional sectional Dravidian style which belongs to South Indian style of temple. There's a minor difference between the two, the North Indian style temple and the South Indian style temple. Now these are the different parts of the temple, that is Amlaka or a stone dish with ridges of rims sits at the top of temple's main tower, which we just saw there. And next is the Maham entrance porch or Andha Mandapa, that is formed as a transitional area between the outside and the Maha Mandapa or hall. So it forms as a buffer. Now most of the temple buildings have this at the central sign, which is known as Garbhagriha. Now the hall or mandapa is the temple forming transitional space between the Ardha Mandapa and the Mandapa. Next is Garbhagriha. Now this is the place where which is represented with the womb of a child. So this is the place where the actual deity's image is kept or the effigy of the image is kept. Then is secondary tower or Rusharinga. These are smaller towers on the temple's exterior lead to the eye up to the highest point. Next is the base platform. This is the raised bay where the temple is built. Now, Shikhara are the roof of towers which lies above the Garbhagriha. Gopuram is the monumental tower at the entrance of the temple. The early examples of early temple form. This is the temple at Sanchi. This has a part of four columns which is coming up which you will find quite similar in the Greek temples as well. This you can see it is still based on the square or Greek temple at Tigua, which also has a couple of columns. Again, the similar Ladkhan temple. Uh, this was built by the Chalukyas. It has a 50 feet square plan that it's walled on three sides. The fourth side is kept open. There is a 12 pillared portico, or you can also say it as a colonnade. The interior consists of 16 pillars. There are two square columns forming a double aisle, and there is an axial stairway. Then is the Nandibul is the central way at the far end of the cella within the square. And this was originally built for the deity Vishnu. Now, the basis of preparing this wall is it was basically a gathering, intended to be made as a gathering place. It was open to the outside so people could look inside, and the opening of the pilasters was filled with masonry, shutting off light. When seating inside was eliminated, the roof had huge slabs of stone laid almost flat, inclined that carried on pillars or corbels. The ornamentation was that the holy shrine was introduced at the end of the deity. The planned square river existed, bracket capital with moldings. Beautiful jali also was raised. These are the images of the temples. You can. Next is Durga temple. This also has a similar style of Greek temple which has columns running around. Now, this is derived from Buddhist Chaitra halls. If you can see, the Buddhist Chaitra hall had a barrel shaped roof and had columns at both extremes. It has its name, it is dedicated to Lord Vishnu. You can see the plans and sections. It has a pyramidal roof, the two flights of stairs, and the temples of different sizes, as discussed earlier, the Indian temples are of North Indian style or Nagara temple, South Indian style or Dravida temple, Vesara or hybrid or Central Indian style. So basically, three styles of temple architecture are found in India. Nagara or the North Indian style temple, it's derived. No, the Nagar or the North Indian style temple is derived from the word Nagar or meaning town or city. It's North Indian style. It was developed in the 5th century, which is characteristic by the beehive shaped tower called the Shekara. Made layer upon layer with the cornice and topped around by a large cushion called Amlaka. The shrine is square in the center in the North Indian style of temple, but there are projections on the outsides. Uh, it has a shikhara which can be seen there, which is a convex in shape. The shikhara is topped by the larger cushions like the element which is known as amalika. The plan is generally square or rectangle. The mandapa is enclosed with walls or screen. Pilaster on the building facade generally closing niches. The plinth with carving and number of moldings. The tower has horizontal banks. These are the various North Indian style temples in the country. Now, this is the location. You can just go through it and the time when it was built. Again, similar continuation. Next is the South India, the Dravidian type of style of temple. The South Indian style is also known as Jati Viman. Now, it has a pyramidal shaped tower, which is progressively smaller stories and small pavilions. It has a cube or prism shaped Garbhagriha. The Vimana and the Gopurams are distinctive characteristics of South Indian style. It is a tall pyramidal tower consisting of several progressively smaller stories. The Pallavas, the Cholas, and the Pandyas, and the Vijayanagar rulers, the Nayaks all contributed in the South Indian style of temple. The Gopuram, literally known as the translation is known as the cow gate, is erected primarily to emphasize the importance of the temple. Formal aspects of Gopuram were evolved slowly over time. This is due to the fact that square was essentially static in form, signifying calm and rest. The rectangular top was crowned by a barrel vault shape of Buddhist origin, crowned with a row of fanals. As time went by, cities all over South India could be discerned and afar by the distinctive shape of the Gopurams had a dominating. Again, the Dravidian chart, which is located where and built by whom during what century. You can just go through it. Different. Next is the Central Indian style. Now, Vesara style of architecture in the Deccan and the style of architecture in the Deccan and Central has parts that is a hybrid of two. In plan, it represents the Dravidian style, whereas in shape it resembles Nagara style. Many of the historians that do agree on that Vesara style originated on the present day Karnataka. The temples built by Hosala dynasty in Mysore and later by the Chalukyas. Now, it is an important point that Mysore was over under the rule of a good emperor. There are temples at Belur, Halebedu, and the Somnatha are supreme examples of this style of temple. The most important characteristics of this temple plan is the boundary of the wall of the complex. Uh, just a minute. It was a little later developed in the South Indian style, having small cellas. The Ardhampada, a porch leading to the main hall. The Mandapa is a main pillared central hall, approach from the porch. The Mahamandapa is projection on the other side of the central hall. Then comes is the vestibule, which is an intermediate space connecting the cella. Vimana, which is the inner holy place. Garbhagriha, or the womb house as said earlier. Pradakshina path, which is also known as the circumambulation path. Now the important characteristics of the temple elevation is Shikhara, which is the tower or the superstructure above century Nagara style. The Gavakas is the horseshoe shape arched Shikhara. The Amalkas is the ribbed disc. Stupi is a small representation of stupa. Shalas is barrel vaults. Pediment is semicircular created over a pair of columns. Now, the Badami caves was ruled in 6th to 8th century in Karnataka, and now again this is Badami caves also is found near somewhere near Belgaum, which is in today's Karnataka. Now you can just go through it. These are the temples which are found in the central style of India. Again, you can just refer.